Welcome back to season 2 of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. I am your host, Marcia Blaine, a licensed professional counselor, a clinical hypnotherapist, an author, motivator, and life coach. Join us during this season as we begin to normalize freedom. Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Welcome back to Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Season 2 is off to a blast. In this session or section of season 2, talking about relationships, sex, emotion is going to be so fire. Tonight, I have someone, I call them friend now, but 35 years ago when we was in high school, we would see people in passing, right? Because I think I'm a class ahead of you, right?
Yeah, you're a class ahead of me, and plus, you was what we considered one of the good girls back then. You know, you played sports and said another, and I stayed in a whole lot of trouble. So I was just trying to stay on the radar.
I was an athlete and all that kind of, and I kind of stayed to myself. I mean, I had a small crew, but I really wasn't one of them party girls. Any of that. People won't believe that. People don't believe that I'm a real introvert because I truly am. I just love what I do, and that gives me space to talk about it. But before we get to talk, because we'll talk. Let me introduce you to the folks.
Okay.
So today I have with me a great guest, Prentice Fisher. He greets everybody with what's happening. What's happening, y'all? Is how he greets everyone, and he never ever meets a stranger. That smile will actually draw you into a place of feeling welcomed, right? And so when you meet Fish or Fisher, because that's their military and they go by the last name, um, answers to that because he served so many years in the military. That's just part of his ingrained being. That doesn't mean that he hadn't, been removed from the process, but that's who he is. 53 years young, single. Hear this, ladies. So don't be jumping in my DMs talking about, can you share, tell me how to connect with him and all. No. 53 years young, single by choice, not by force. Don't get it twisted. He doesn't have any biological children, but he is the proud parent to an 85-pound American Staffordshire, whom he refers to Thicky Smalls or his partner. He's a combat veteran of the U.S. Army, a licensed practical nurse by profession, but he is a lover of life, a free spirit, a gentleman who lives life on his own terms. So all y'all out there trying to think that your cute face and thin waist and all that's gonna capture. It did when he was younger. That's not where he is now.
Exactly.
He's a maverick or a rebel, if you will, but perfectly flawed. And he owns every part of who he is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Prentice says, I'm the sum of all those parts, and I am Fisher. I wouldn't change a thing. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. And like you said, what's happening?
I love it. I love when I get to interview people that, knew me way back when. Because we can see our growth and where we've come from. But we began talking, or we reconnected on Facebook, and then we began talking about your journey at this stage in life, because right now, there are a lot of women in my age group saying, well, where are the men at? And a lot of men in our age group saying, well, where are the women at? And we keep clashing. But you took a different road at this stage in your 50s. So we're going to get into it. I'll let you tell the people where you are on the journey.
Okay. I would honestly say it really started in 2015, December 2015. But I did a little backslide. So I stayed celibate for 2 years. And then on December 15, 2017, I just woke up one day. I said, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not going to be bed hopping, having women in and out my house. it's not going anywhere, and I let them know up front it's not going anywhere. Everything was pretty much on my terms. I had a little set of rules,
Mm-hmm.
and they went by it. But see, the thing about those rules is I gave them the option: are you gonna deal with this madness? And if they went along with it, then if things didn't work out like they thought it would, or they thought they could change me, that's on you. And like I
Right.
said, I started looking at, before even 2015,
Mm-hmm.
running different women in and out my bed, this, that, and other. And it seemed like it started making a change with me, and I read
Mm.
that for every person
Spirit
that you sleep with,
transfer.
yeah, all
Mm-hmm.
that energy. And I didn't like what I was seeing. I
Mm.
had a true bachelor pad. I had the big giant bed, the water bed with the mirrors built all around it, and something straight out the '70s. But that's
Yeah.
how I lived my life. And I was
Mm-hmm.
laying there one day, and I was looking up in those mirrors. And I said, I'm just not doing this anymore. So one day started um, into a week turned into a month turned into a year. And right as of today, we had 1,994 days. And in 6 more days, I'll be 2,000 days celibate.
That's what's up. And it's I know that a lot of people would think that you're lying because you're an attractive guy. I'm
Mhm.
certain that women have tried you. It's like, you can't be celibate. What's wrong with you? You gay and all this kind of stuff. Because
Mhm.
I know that we just get ignorant like that because we don't
Mhm.
believe that men can love themselves enough to no
Mhm.
longer want those spiritual connections, right? And I
Exactly.
truly, truly respect that because I see clients all the time who
Mhm.
like, yo, do you realize that when you're sleeping with this person and y'all got this openness going on and they sleeping with one person, that person
Mhm.
is slept with five more. And then down the line, now all of their energy running through you.
Mhm.
What's your
Exactly.
thoughts about that when you discovered that?
Well, it kind of threw me off, and then it made me really look at the bigger picture because not only was I sleeping with that person and whoever they slept with, and vice versa, I looked back at the number of women I slept with over the years. Now,
Mm,
and I'm gonna go back even farther. The way I grew up is, our household was pretty strict,
okay.
and the guys, me and my brother, there was one thing our stepdad always told us: don't bring no babies home, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So my way of thinking was, I'm gonna stay a virgin until I get married.
Got you.
Now,
Okay.
and I got in all kinds of trouble, growing up. That's how I ended up at Fraser with you. Then I got kicked out of Fraser and ended up at Tresman. But I
Oh,
did
got you.
everything
Okay.
out there. Yeah, I did all kinds of stuff, but having sex. So when I went into the military, I'm still out there partying, drinking, and fighting. I wasn't having sex until I got ready to get deployed to the Gulf War. And I said, I'm
Mm.
not going over there getting killed and being a virgin. So this older lady, she took
She
advantage of
broke
me.
you
I
off.
did. Yeah. She popped my cherry,
Uh-huh.
and so I went to the Gulf, but when I came back, I had a whole different mindset. I said, you know what? I said, that was all right. And I just went on a spree. I made up for all that time. So to be honest, I slept with hundreds of women.
Wow.
So when I decided to stop, I said, well, man, if you look back, no wonder you are the way you are, so reckless and this, that, and other, because you slept with all
Mm.
these women prior, and everybody that they slept with, you didn't get all this energy, this mainly negative energy. And that's why
Yeah.
you're so out of control. And I started seeing that. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror.
Mm. Well, stop right there for a second. What would you say
Okay.
to men in our age group
Mm-hmm.
to encourage them to go back through their checklist and
Mm-hmm.
identify where they are?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them to help them know that it's okay to do that?
Well, one, they got to be honest with themselves.
Mm.
You have to look in the mirror and be honest with that person staring back at you. Is this something that you really want to do? Are you really being honest with yourself? Because if you're not being honest with yourself, you can't be honest with somebody else. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so it starts there with taking a good look at yourself first and being
Mm-hmm.
honest. Because, like I said, but I saw looking back at me, I didn't like. It. I didn't like it at all. I had no peace. It just seemed like I stayed in constant turmoil.
Mm. Do you think that part of your foundation Stepdad said, listen, don't go out here and bring no babies up in here because we're not doing that. Do you think that that helped snatch you back to a place where you was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I don't like this part of me.
I think eventually it did. At first, because
Mhm.
I used to just I tried to get away from that as much as possible. And like I said, that's what with me is either all or nothing. Either I go from
Mm,
laid back to buck wild. It's no in between.
got you.
So
Okay.
and that's what I had to get back to. I had to get away from the buck wild part and get back to being laid back and in control because I was out of control. And a
Would
lot of
you?
that does have to do with my upbringing. I had to get back to that foundation.
Yeah. Would you say going through 100 women, um,
More like about
made,
300.
excuse me, Will Chambers, going through that number of women,
Mhm.
how did you not get emotionally attached and just recognize that it's just me doing what I do?
Well, that goes back to my time in the military because, I was a combat medic and, I saw a lot of action over there. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't get caught up in your emotions. And back then, everybody had little nicknames and I called myself the machine because I didn't show no emotion, no feelings. I got the job done. I took care of business no matter what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And I looked at that as the same way with my relationships. Everything was a business,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's why I had the set of rules I had and
Mm-hmm.
it was my way or the highway. It was just no feeling involved. It was just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. If this is what you want to do, then hop on this ride, you know.
Right.
I'm letting you know up
Wow.
front. I'm not falling for you. And I think that was the draw for some of the women. Because like I said, they figured like they could change me. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, like Maya
Mm-hmm.
Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. I'm telling you and showing you who I am. Now, if you choose to roll down that road, don't get mad when it get bumpy.
Period. And
Period.
that's a great set of standards.
Mhm.
Oftentimes I'm telling clients, that are out here in the dating world trying to find somebody, listen,
Mhm.
you need to have your questions
Exactly.
and you need to let them know what it is that you want. Well, isn't that going
Mhm.
to push them away? Listen, if your questions about what you want is pushing
Mhm.
somebody away, let them jokers go
Exactly.
because they're
Exactly.
not going to honor you in the
They're
process.
really not.
And let me just go ahead and do a public service announcement to the lady. Just because you got a cooter, vagina, or poo poo, whatever it is you want to call it, is
Mhm.
not going to make someone stay with you. They'll get with you if they choose to, but that ain't none of us got no gold. It's not going to
Well,
make them stay unless they choose it.
well, let me piggyback on that from a guy's perspective.
Okay.
The only good thing about a good piece of ass
Uh-huh.
is a new piece of ass. That's it.
That's a valid point. But
Mhm.
it's women like that.
Yeah, it is. I ran across something like that, which
I,
at that time that was okay with me because I'm like, okay, we're on the same sheet of music. I can rock with you, but sooner or later somebody does catch feelings, and it
they
was never
catch
me.
feelings. And I
Mhm.
remember when I was doing my thing and rocking
Mhm.
and rolling. And I would
Mhm.
say, listen, yo, this is an agreement.
Mhm.
The moment you start feeling something, the agreement is
Mhm.
done.
Exactly.
And there's like, you act like a dude. No, I act like Marcia because I'm not
Mhm.
going to play the game that needs to be played. And I want
Mhm.
to encourage adults because mostly grown folks are going to be watching this.
Mhm.
Know your worth. Know your value. And
Exactly.
everybody that smile at you, everybody that say you look good, that's for men and women. That
Mhm.
don't mean you got to lay up with them.
Exactly.
Are they going in the same direction?
9 times out of 10, they ain't.
And so when you had to move on,
Mhm.
you got your new piece. All right, I'm through with you. Let me move to the next one. How did you just stop talking? What was that disconnect like?
I kind of left it up to them. You want to hang around, that's cool, but Don't be mad if you call me or pop up at my crib and you see somebody else over here, because I already let you know up front what time it was. The only thing you can do is either come in and join in or leave.
You allowed pop-up? Bruh.
Yeah, I didn't care, because my
Got
thing
you.
was,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't care. If you decided to pop up at my crib uninvited and you see somebody else laying up in my bed or on my couch, you can't get mad. But one, I didn't invite you, and two, I told you what time it was when we first started kicking it.
And then you
That's
didn't
all I
have
want to do.
anything to hide, so answering the door wasn't even an issue.
I always answer the door. I never hid, because I didn't have anything to hide from.
How important is that when you're dealing with relationships? And I know that you're on this journey of celibacy. You've already decided, yo, me and my partner, we good. I'm not going down that road again. How important is it though to be true to yourself?
That's the most important thing. Because like I say, if you're not true to yourself, you can't be true to nobody else.
True. True.
You know, and that's what it all boils down to. How you are with yourself. How well do you know yourself? How honest are you with yourself? And I had to break myself all the way down. I'm like, dude, I don't like what I'm seeing. You ain't
What are
about
some of the
nothing.
things that you didn't like about that?
It was just one, how I felt afterwards, because after we did the deed, I felt like I was used, and I'll be laying there like, look, you got to go. You can't stay all night. Because see, that was one of my rules. I told you I had a list of rules I went by.
Right.
So I just didn't. I felt dirty, and yeah, and it just got worse and worse, and I just finally decided I can't do this anymore. And ever since I started this journey, I got nothing but peace, pure peace. And nobody can disrupt it. I've been propositioned a few times,
I'm sure.
and it's not going anywhere.
Right.
Unless I decide to go back to that, which I'm not. Maybe if I meet somebody special,
Right.
That's a strong maybe. But until then, I'm on cruise control.
Well, our grandparents always told us never say never.
That's true.
Because that one person may come into your life and offer you that spot, that space to still be you, but then you give yourself permission to be at that vulnerable space to say, all right, I can get down with you. You don't bring no drama, that kind of thing.
And that's the key, don't bring no drama. And two, don't try to change me. I'm 53 and a half years old. I'm not changing for nothing. If you go to church and that's your thing, cool. Don't think you're going to force me to go in there and do all that touch the neighbor, this, that, and other, because that's not my thing. Yes, I do believe in God, and I know where my strength comes from, but I'm just not one of those dudes that's going to sit up there and listen to the tambourine playing and doing all that touching. No, I don't need that.
And that's so powerful though, because what I hear you saying is, I'm so in touch with me. Me and God cool. We got our relationship. I honor myself first. I don't care what's going on. You can walk across me booty butt naked and it ain't gonna do nothing for me, because that ain't what I want.
Nothing.
How many of your boys said, man, are you serious?
A lot of them. Because a lot of them, and I'm not knocking these cats for what they do, because they on a different path, but they know how I was years ago, and a lot of them just can't believe it. Like, man, I can't believe you didn't stop dropping the hammer like that. Yeah, man, I done did it. And I tell them, if I don't never have another piece of ass today, I didn't have more sex than a lot of dudes walking. I'm good on it.
Got you.
I'm cool.
Were you ever uncomfortable with, and I already know the answer is no, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway.
Okay.
Were you ever uncomfortable with societal norm expectations when you decided, I'm done with that?
Because I like to go against the grain anyway. I'm an Aquarius. That's what we do. You go right, I'm gonna go left just because. I mean, that's just how we wired. So I know society expects, especially guys that have been in the military, we've been around the world, we done taste all the flavors that you can taste. It's expected of us to be out there buck wilding, but
Yeah.
I don't. So like you said, when women approach me or I'm meeting somebody at the job or out at the grocery store and they ask me, well, you ain't got no kids, you ain't got no woman. No, well, what's wrong with you? Are you gay? Yeah, I'm a lesbian. Yeah, and I tell them I'm a lesbian. I love women. If you want to call it
ready. I wasn't ready.
So that's how I answer that question. So
Isn't it amazing though that in 2023, because you're single by choice, that people have the audacity to say, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, all the time.
That used to bug the mess out of me because it was like, well, why does something have to be wrong with me? Because I got some standards. Don't really understand that.
Because they expect you to go along with the norm, which ain't no standards.
I'm a Virgo. We don't norm. What's that?
Exactly.
We don't do norms. We create norms, right?
Exactly.
You know, and we reestablish what it is that we want. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. When you think about male emotions, I know ego comes into play because that's really what, our pleasure principle is, trying to get, all that we can get. When you tap into your own emotional self, what's that like for you?
To me, it feels like a weight lifted because, like I said, I'm not one of those people that show a whole lot of emotion. I mean, I'm a happy guy, but if it's something tragic or something bad going on, especially in my field, you see death every day. I done seen more people dead than I care to even mention. You have to tuck those feelings away when you're on the job, so they kind of spilled over to your personal life, and you just don't show a whole lot of emotion. So when that does happen, and I mean, I could be watching a movie, especially Imitation of Life. I mean, that make me cry every time.
But stop playing. Don't be trying to act like you like my favorite movie, one of my favorites. Go about the business. Go on, listen.
I be in here boohooing with the best of them. But to me, it's a good cry because you, like you say, you tap into those emotions. I see this woman who's trying to reconnect with her child, and the child is pushing her away, and you can't help but feel some sympathy, for this woman. So to me, that's tapping into those emotions. I'm feeling something for somebody else. I'm not going through it like they are, but I'm feeling for them.
So a high level of empathy.
Yeah.
And so when you think about just men in general, because quite a few of my guest speakers or guests have been men, and we've talked about Black male emotions. What would you say that hinders Black men from expressing emotions?
I mean, just living. I mean, we're conditioned not to be weak. We got so much against us out here. You're dealing with stresses on the job, sometimes at home, police brutality, getting profiled. So we had to have on this suit of armor at all times. And it's hard to take it off sometimes because you really can't let your guard down. It's just like a dog. If a dog rolls over and shows you his belly, that means that dog trusts you. But most of the time, the dog is on guard. And to me, that's how us as Black men are. We are always on guard. And if we happen to find somebody that's special that make us put their guard down, that's the person we want. It's not about how fat your butt is or nothing like that. It's about how you make us feel protected the same way we'll protect you.
Yes. I one of my guests, we talked about that, and I shared that men show emotions when they feel safe.
Exactly.
To be vulnerable in a space. One of the things I get on women about is I can't stand to hear women say things like, "Oh, he weak because he show emotions." So exactly what you want them to show: anger all the time. You want them to be uptight all the time.
Make up your mind. If we don't show an emotion, you got an issue with that. If we show too much, then we weak. Which is it?
Period. Because emotions so this is the therapist side of me. I think that everybody needs to be in a space to have at least one vulnerable person that when that cup gets full and they need to release, they know that it's safe enough to release and it's never going to come back to them.
Exactly.
And that's what I think men need to know and men need to hear, that you got to have that person that you can feel safe enough with. What would you tell some young men in their 20s sowing them oats, getting busy? I don't know if you're on TikTok, but on TikTok right now. Well, answer that question for me, and then I'm going to tell you what I've seen on TikTok. But what would you say to the younger generation, men and women, about really preserving themselves enough to where they don't have all this transfer? Because that's all sex is a transfer.
To be honest, I would tell them, do what you feel, because that's what I did. Everybody got to walk their own path. I talk you till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, you still gonna make that decision to go out here and buck jump and bed jump all you want. To me, it's just part of growing pains. I'm not gonna tell you to do something that I didn't do. You have to learn. You have to find your own way, because that's what makes us all unique.
Well, one of the things that you said is you made a choice to be a virgin, and I want to talk about that for a little bit until you got into your 20s, because there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Exactly. I was cool with it. Like I said, I did everything else. Smoked weed, got drunk, of course, got in plenty of fights and all kinds of trouble, but I wasn't having no sex.
You were so quiet at Frazier. At least what I saw.
I know.
Because I'm sitting there going, but I didn't see any of that. I did, but I was in my own world too. But I just remembered this quiet guy.
Well, the Jerry curl and the gold teeth didn't give it away. And see, that's the thing.
We were all flinging Jerry curls.
Yeah, I had one of those ready for the world Jerry curls. I kept that thing moistened and slinging every day, and that gold tooth was shining. But and that's why I tell people, don't let the smooth taste fool you. Just like now, when I say that I'm celibate, people like, no, you out there slanging and banging. No, I'm really not. But I'm glad you had that perception, because to me, that's a defense mechanism for me. If you thinking about here running all these different women, then you staying away from them.
Okay, it's like a deflector.
It is.
Got you. Okay. And so now I'm gonna jump on what I've been seeing on TikTok. I don't know why this is trending, but as a male, I really want to hear your perspective. On TikTok, there are a lot of Black men that are going in on Black women, telling them they have no value, that they need to be submissive, and just so many derogatory things. I find myself getting frustrated saying, well, bruh, women don't have a problem submitting to a man that's got a vision and a plan.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts about that?
To me, those guys are just trying to be the next Kevin Samuels. And that's what he built his platform off of. Thomas Sotomayor and Derrick Jackson. Those are the names that come to mind. Always trying to give
Jackson bamboozled a whole bunch of folks, including his wife.
Yeah, you trying to give a relationship advice, but you out here cat dogging everybody you can. Right. Oh, that it don't work like that. That's a contradiction, and that's what these guys doing. It's always berating women, especially Black women, and I hate to see it, because you're trying to gain popularity. You're trying to tap into where you think you're gonna get a whole lot of views, a whole lot of likes, some endorsements, and make money out putting down our women. And that's one thing I cannot stand. Is a Black man to put down a Black woman. That don't fly.
We live in this society of likes and loves and comments, and I call it the lazy society, because you just want to sit in front of the camera. How are you working with this? Because you be going in on folks on social media. and and they don't like it, you know. How important or how much value do you put into social media?
I'm not that much. That's more for entertainment for me. But I see something that catches my attention, especially like I said. Well, like you said, I do get into it a lot with folks. In fact, I got into it with somebody earlier when I had a few moments where I was unpacking. To me, it's entertainment, but I say things because I know one is going to sting, but it's the truth. And I love hitting people with that hard truth. Like I was always told, the naked truth is always better than a well-dressed lie. I ain't going to never lie to you. I'm going to give it to you straight up, no chasing. It's up to you to swallow.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I love it. I love it. I love, and I ask that same question to all of my male guests because I think that as Black women, the carrier of a lot in our community need to be reminded that Black men still do treasure Black women. But one of the things we have to do is start treasuring ourselves.
Exactly.
We don't have to be out here, in my opinion, showing everything under the sun to get attention. What's your thoughts about that? When you see, and I mean, honestly, I don't care how people dress, but when you see people starve for attention and just doing all kind of stuff, what are your thoughts about that? Especially in our age group, because there's way too many in their 50s doing it.
To me, it's a self-esteem issue. You know, you want people to pay you attention. It's basically look at me, and to me, that's not the kind of woman that's gonna get my attention. That's like going to a strip club. Yeah, it's okay the first couple of minutes you were in there and you seeing all these naked bodies, but then you get numb to it. And that's just like seeing these women walk around, like you said, with half their butt out and all the cleavage showing and this, that, and the other in the next. But you're not gonna keep a real man like that. Because the same way he saw you out there in the street, that's where he's gonna leave you at. Because you ain't just doing that for him. You're doing that for attention from other guys.
Ooh, that's valid. That's valid. You know, it's so amazing. And I love conversations like these because I think that it opens the door for people to begin having conversations about relationships in general. If you were to enter into a relationship in your 50s, what would be some expectations that you would bring to the table? These are my boundaries. These are my expectations. What would some of those look like? Because this may help, you know, people in our age group that's still trying to figure out dating.
I mean, like I say, if I were to date anybody now, one, I'm gonna accept you how you are, how I met you. I'm not gonna set any boundaries on you. You can't do this, you can't wear this, you can't go here or there. Because this is how I met you. But I have standards now. And there's certain things I'm not going for. Like I say, you're not coming out the house with me half dressed because you ain't doing that for me.
And no bonnet and house shoes.
No bonnet. If hanging out at the club every night is your thing, then you ain't a woman for me. Because when people go to the club, they're out there for one thing. I don't care how much you like to dance. If you like to dance so much, you be on Soul Train. You out there trying to get a hookup.
I love it. So what I hear you saying is if in your 50s, it's good if you're dating with a purpose. Whatever that purpose is, if you just need a kick buddy, someone that you want a longer relationship with or whatever, it needs to be with a purpose. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to the men of our generation. Give them a message on navigating your 50s and feeling free and at peace. Help your brothers out.
Well, one, they got to look deep inside themselves and be honest with themselves. Because I'll tell anybody, us men, we don't mature to our 40s, late 40s. I mean, we immature as hell.
Did y'all hear that?
So if you out here dating these cats that's in their 20s, 30s, 40s, early 40s, they ain't mature yet. They showing you their representative. And they probably already showed it to you anyway, and you just refuse to see it because you like what's going on for right now. But we don't mature till we hit our late 40s. So now I think I done hit my stride, because one thing that struck a chord with me is a couple of weeks ago, I was watching some on TV, and this guy says, middle age is not 50. He said, nobody lives to be 100. He said, middle age, especially for Black people, is 30, 35. Because, be honest, we die in our early 60s. So I said to myself, I'm 53. I'm way past middle age. You know, so I'm hitting my stride. I am happy at where I am in life. You know, I'm on straight cruise control. And that's something I can tell the other brothers out here. Find your stride, look inside yourself, and do some soul searching and get honest with yourself. And after that, it falls into place. Once you're honest with yourself, everything just falls into place.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say, or do you have a message for women in their 50s who are still hopeful that they finally find that mature person?
Just don't give up and don't sell yourself short. I see so many women doing that. And to me, that was one of the issues I had with myself. These women were selling themselves short. They knew they wasn't going nowhere with me, but they kept trying. So that's something I can tell the sisters, you know, that's in our age group. Don't sell yourself short. Don't never lower your standards for nothing and nobody.
So is that the part where you felt dirty because you knew that they had lowered their standards?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never called them out their name, but I knew that I was playing with their emotions. I knew it wasn't going anywhere. And I started feeling bad about it, you know, and like I said, I felt dirty, you know, because I was basically using them, you know, even though it was a mutual agreement, but I'm still using it because I'm not putting into it what you expect out of it.
Yeah. And I love the candor and the openness in the conversation because we need more real truths. You know, I remember an associate, she said to me, well, maybe Marcia, if you lost a little weight, you can get a man. I was like, maybe, but then wouldn't it be superficial?
Exactly.
If I can't present myself where I am, and of course, we all want to lose weight. You talk about losing weight, and I talk about losing weight. We go through whatever battles we go through with that. But our real truth is, aren't we too old to still bring in the representative?
Way too old. You just got to present the real you. That's all you can do. You know, because sooner or later, people don't see through their representative. I mean, it's you can't keep up that facade forever.
Yeah,
and that's what
I
makes
totally
people,
agree.
and that's what makes people mad when they see you for who you really are. They feel like you done bamboozle them and hoodwink them. They saw it.
You said Maya Angelou, that famous quote. If somebody tell you who they are, you better believe them.
A lot of people don't go by that though, because in their mind they say, well, it's gonna be different with me, or I can change this person. No, it's not gonna happen. That person is who they are. You're not gonna change.
The conquer and the conquest. Wow.
That's
Wow. That's pretty amazing, man. Listen, this was heavy and good because it's so real and authentic. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing that you held back on. It was all truth. It was all openness.
Yeah. I've been like that
last words for the audience.
If you ever see me in the street, don't be afraid to speak. I ain't gonna hurt you.
Just say what's happening.
Just say what's happening. But I wish you ladies and you gents out there, I really wish you all the best in your endeavors, relationship-wise. But most importantly, like we just said, don't ever sell yourself short for anybody. Love yourself.
Yes. Never. Y'all heard him. Y'all heard what Fisher said now. He'd been through, he number 2 Wilt Chamberlain, right?
I was working on it.
But on the serious note, you know, if you struggle with self-esteem, lack of self-love, lack of self-worth, fix that before you start trying to connect, because so many people enter into situationships hoping that the other person can fill some gaps and some voids. Don't do that to yourself. Going out there, you already know I'm gonna tell you, go to therapy, find your therapist, Not me, because I'm booked like 3 months out. I would love to, but that's just how my schedule works. But on the real, find a therapist that you can talk to. Give yourself permission to heal some of the broken wounds and disconnect from them soul
Mhm.
ties of just constantly running into other folks. Check me out on marciablaine.com. Follow me on social media, authentically peculiar with Marcia. Check Prentice out. All you gotta do is go Prentice Fisher. Now listen, if you jump in his DMs, he gonna blast you.
She ain't
I'm
lying
just
to you.
saying.
Come sideways. I'm gonna straighten you up.
Period. And so, and the truth is you got to love yourself enough so that anyone that comes in connection with you is just an extension of what you feel about yourself. So keep that thought in mind. I can't call you Fisher because I just feel like I know you as Prentice, right?
You can call me whatever you choose.
This has been a really, really great episode. Thank you so much for talking to us about quality over quantity and loving yourself enough to say, nah, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I'm
So
definitely good.
until the next time on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia, don't forget we drop an episode every Sunday at 8 a.m. Check it out. Go ahead, run over there to Spotify, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what it is that you got going on, what you need me to interview somebody about, and we'll get it done. Y'all take good care. See you next time.